What's up, fuckers? It's tea time. I know what y'all did last summer. You hit that man with your car, threw his body into the water, tried to pretend it never happened. And then you were killed off one by one as your crime came back to bite you in the ass. Hold on. That's definitely a Jennifer Love Hewitt movie. Okay. What y'all did last summer, well, Republicans, was shout from the fucking rooftops that you didn't want history erased. Fox News, the Beer Belly Bumpkins, and the Keyboard Karens all had their Confederate pride panties in a wad over the removal of the Pidgeotty monuments. They really do love those pigeon shit covered Confederate statues, don't they? Certainly more than Black Lives. Even twice impeached former President Doo-Doo Butt Donald said, "We must build upon our heritage, not tear it down." Every single one of you muddy camouflage, two-stepping, fish-frying, tube-floating, creek-jumping motherfuckers was preaching about how you can't rewrite history and you can't change it by covering it up. And I'll tell you what, I agree with you. Look, unity. But before I start braiding your mullets and brushing your tooth, I just have one teensy little question. If you feel that strongly about covering up history, what's your fucking problem with critical race theory? Oh, we were so close to getting along. Looks like your words last summer have come back to haunt you like a hook-wielding killer or a Trump tweet. Sorry, this gay's agenda is exposing hypocrisy, and I have a little habit of keeping receipts. The removal of the racist bird toilets wasn't to erase history. It was a simple way to correct how we look at history. You see, these monuments were put in place meant to glorify the people they represent. And we don't want to glorify people who went to war so they could own other humans. But the slaves loved their masters. The slaves were happy. They were... Let me stop you right there, Jimmy Don Lee. Happy people don't tend to run away in the middle of the night with a one-way ticket down the Underground Railroad, but that's just my opinion. I'm sure plenty of Republican lawmakers would disagree with me, though. I know the lion witch from the wardrobe would. Kristi Noem. She's only pretty on the outside. She has a heart small enough to remain undetected, but cold enough to fight global warming. She used to be the White Witch in Narnia before she escaped and became the governor of South Dakota. She gives off the same energy as a ruthless insect who rips off the head of her mate after near-silent coital activity. When she heard Joe Biden was asking governors for help with migrant children, she took the Republican pro-life approach. She said that her state won't take a single immigrant and they can call her when they're American. Ugh, settle down, Kristi. No one wants to call you. You weren't even one of the governors that Joe Biden called for help. Jesus, finger-painting Christ. Listening to that witch will make you need Botox from all the cringing. Remember how white people stole the Black Hills in South Dakota from Native Americans, then gave it back, then stole it again? The descendant of thieving immigrants says immigrants aren't welcome. The caucasity. But making sense has never been her strong suit, has it? She had a very hands-off approach to COVID last year. South Dakota was the only state in the country that never ordered a single business or church to close. Old Kristi never instituted a shelter-in-place order or mandated that people wear masks. She instead spent her time soliciting donations so she could have an $1,100 Colonizer Mountain bust made with Diaper Dawn's face on it. Kiss ass. Oh, Kristi with your nose so brown, you made your state a COVID playground. She went from being the queen of Narnia to the queen of COVID, and now she may even be the contender to be the queen of the United States. Well, the president. But before Kristi makes an attempt at the White House, the whitewashed witch has to try to whitewash history. She recently boasted that she was the first person to sign the 1776 pledge that opposes the teaching of critical race theory in public schools. She says teaching our children and grandchildren to hate their own country and pitting them against one another on the basis of race or sex is shameful and must be stopped. But pitting them against each other based on gender identity and sexual orientation is okay though, right? At least that was my understanding when the whitewashed witch signed a religious refusal bill that allows businesses to deny goods or services to LGBTQ people and others based on the owner's religious beliefs. So what is critical race theory? Well, it's something that's already been banned from the public school curriculum in Idaho and Tennessee. It's a concept that has been around for quite some time. Decades, actually.
All it does is address inequality and racism in the United States. It examines how the social constructs of race and institutionalized racism perpetuate a racial caste system that regulates people of color to the bottom tiers of society. It recognizes that racism is not something of the past. It acknowledges that the legacy of slavery, segregation, and the imposition of second-class citizenship on Black Americans and other people of color continue to flow strongly through the veins of this country. It teaches us that race is not biologically real, but instead it is simply a social construct. We made it up. Science refutes the idea of biological racial differences. Race is not a biological reality. There is only one race, and that is the human race. Underneath our different colored skin, we all look alike, and we are all human. Critical race theory also shows us that racism is normal in our society, and it's embedded deep within our systems and institutions, especially our legal system. It exposes the ways that racism is often cloaked in terminology regarding mainstream or traditional values or neutral policies or practices. Critical race theory teaches about racism in ways most white high school history teachers can't. It doesn't just skim the surface, it takes a deep, deep dive into what racism really is and what people of color go through on a day-to-day basis in this country. This land was stolen from indigenous people and built on the backs of African Americans. The foundation of this country is blood, sweat, and tears from people of color. And that's the truth. Black parents in this country are going to tell their kids the truth. If white parents tell their kids lies, when the black kids and the white kids meet at school, it's those two different stories that will pit them against each other. Not critical race theory, Christy. You can't move forward from something or forgive someone if you never acknowledge your wrongdoings. So whether you're whitewashing history or running someone over with your car and hiding the body, it's always going to come back and bite you in the ass. Well, unless you live in Oklahoma. Their governor, Kevin Stitt, signed a bill this year granting immunity to drivers who run over and possibly kill protesters with their car. But you get the idea. You can try to whitewash history, but there are people out here like me, and I know what we did the last 400 summers. I want everybody to have a great fucking day unless you whitewash history.